Hello world, welcome to Sunday evening. And I am going to read you some Bible verses and then I'm going to play a couple of songs. And I'm going to give you a little testimony and I pray this will be a blessing to you. So I'm calling this today Steps of the Righteous. And Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord and he delights in his way." You know, so many times we think, and I do, so I'm assuming you do too. God, why did you let this happen? Why did you let that happen? I have a whole list of stuff in my life like that. I have a new one from today, yesterday and today. I accidentally put my phone in the washing machine. And I said, God, why did you stop me? Why did you warn me? Why didn't you let me have it? I had to go get a new phone today. I only got one in September. And I'm like, didn't really want to go get a new phone. The other one died. I put it in rice. It wouldn't dry. And I'm thinking, and this, you know, I picked this out before that happened, this lesson. I picked this out. Before that happened, I didn't pick this out because that happened. This happened after I picked all this out. And I thought, okay, God, is there a reason that phone needed to die? I can't figure out what it is. This phone isn't as big as the other one. I don't know if it's as good as the other one. It's what they had. It's cheaper than the other one. But God, was there a purpose in that? I don't know what it could have been. But whatever it was, I have to trust that God was he leading me in that little disaster? So it says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way. He delights in his way. Proverbs 16:9, a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. You know, my life has been nothing but going the directions other than what I planned. There is not a single thing in my life that I planned or want, but that's the way it is. And this says, you can plan your way, but the Lord directs your steps. 2 Timothy 1:12, but I am not ashamed, for I know the one in whom I trust. And I am sure that he is able to guard what I have entrusted to him until the day of his return. You know, if you have given yourself to him, you have no reason to be ashamed because you know him. You know him and you should trust him and be sure he's able to guard you. If you have given yourself to him, that's what he's guarding. Whatever you have given him and entrusted to him, he is guarding it until the day of his return. So even though we have all these disasters, we have disasters in the world, but you have personal disasters sometimes too going on in your life, but he is still guarding you if you have entrusted yourself to him. Jeremiah 10:23, O Lord, I know the way of man is not in himself. See, whatever we think is the way, it's not in us. It's just not there. It may have been initially when God first created man, but with the fall of man, that is gone. The way of man is not in himself. It is not in man who walks to direct his own steps. You know why it's not in us? Because we don't know the future. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's up. But God does. And it says, O Lord, correct me, but with justice. So this is saying that, you know, we need to be corrected in our steps sometimes. And it's not necessarily because we're doing something wrong. You could be doing something wrong. But if you are thinking, you know, I'm going this way, I think it's the right way. It might not be that that's a bad way, but there could be danger laying ahead there that you don't know of. Or something that is going to be worse that you don't know of that God could be saving you from. And this reminded me of something that happened years ago. I am saying this was probably about 1986 or 87. Okay, somewhere in the late 1980s, based on the car that I had. Because I had a red Toyota Corolla. It was a what was that car? 82? I'm thinking I'm trying to remember. I know I got it at the end of 81, so it was an 81, 82, something like that. But that's what was my car at the time. It was a red Toyota Corolla. It's actually the first car that I bought on my own when I was 18. And I was a little older then. I was, 22, 23? I was 24, 25 at this time. And I was also married at that time. I am no longer because my former husband left. But at that time I was married and we were on our way out of town. And we usually went to visit my former in-laws. Neither of them are living anymore, but that's usually where we were going. And we always had to travel through Orlando to get there because we had to go across the state of Florida and northeast. And we would go through Orlando, meaning we had to go through I-4. Now, if you've ever been to Florida, if you've ever been to Orlando, and you've ever been on I-4, you know what a little disaster that whole place is. Even in the 80s it was. It's horrible. And we would always try to go at night or some off time where it wouldn't be a going home time, because that was the worst. So we had gotten there, and it was probably like 9 o'clock at night, which should have been a good traffic time. And the interstate there is like, at that time, was 3 lanes one way, 3 lanes the other way, I believe. I know it was at least 3 lanes. I think it was just 3 lanes. So 3 lanes north, 3 lanes south. Although I think they count I-4 east and west, actually. But 3 lanes one way, 3 lanes the other. It angles. In this car, which was my car, we were sitting there, and we didn't know what had happened, but there had been an accident up ahead, and we found out later on the news what it was. There had been a potato truck that overturned, went all across the interstate. Potatoes. Potato truck had overturned, but we didn't know. We just knew we were all dead stopped. And I mean, we were stopped. Most of the time stopped. And then we would inch forward about a foot and stop. And go forward about a foot and stop. And we had sat and sat and sat. I know it had been at least half an hour, and all of a sudden my car overheated. That car had never overheated before, ever. And it never did again the rest of the time I had it either. It never had overheated before that time, and it never overheated again after that time, ever. Now, that year and a couple of that time of that era of those Toyotas, they did have a tendency to overheat if you sat it idle for long once they were kind of older. Only I didn't know that at that time. My mother started doing that later. You couldn't idle for long, or they would start overheating when they were older cars. But mine had never done it before, and never did it after. But we had been idling there, and we weren't paying attention to whether the car was hot or not, because it never happened before. So all of a sudden, smoke starts coming out of the radiator, and we're like, oh, neither one of us were car people. What do? Well, we pulled over. Now, we were at the top of an overpass. So, you had the road here, and then there was, it's just like a hill overpass. We were at the very top of this overpass. So we could see. But we could see for miles ahead, there was stopped cars. We couldn't see where this accident was or what it was. So we didn't know till later. But we knew we weren't going anywhere for a while. And so we were in the right lane. And so we pulled over into the emergency lane at the top of this overpass. Nobody was going fast enough to hit us, because they couldn't. It was like this. And we were well off of the lane. We were in there. And so we turned off the car, raised the hood, let the car cool. People were yelling at us, "You should have bought an American car." Well, not that they can't overheat, right? And it's like, oh, okay. Well, we stood there for a while, and we didn't know what to do. This is before the era of cell phones. Now, cell phones existed in the 80s, but we didn't have them. Hardly anybody had them. Few people had them. They called them car phones, and usually you had one for your whole family, and you shared it. We did not have one yet. We didn't have a phone. We didn't have a way to call anybody. We were in close to downtown Orlando, and we only knew how to get where we were going down I-4, because it's the only way either one of us had ever gone. That's all we knew. And there's another road there now. I think it's 8, 13, 17, something like that. There's a good road there now. You can just zip right through, but that wasn't there at that time. There was no other way through that was not some little back road. So, and we didn't know anything but I-4. So we sat there for a while, let the car cool off, and we just stood on the side of the road, in this emergency lane, and for quite a while, because, we didn't know what to do. We thought maybe a police will come by, somebody come by and help us or something. We waited and we waited and we waited long enough for this car to cool off. And while we were waiting, I was just watching the other traffic, because to the side of us, there were 3 lanes going the direction we'd been going and 3 going the other way. And for a while, all they did was move a foot and stop and move a foot and stop and move it. They weren't going. Everybody had their windows down. People were just honking the horns at each other. That's all they were doing. And I just sat there and watched it for a while, watched this traffic, because there was nothing else to see. There was nothing else to do. And so after a while, we said, well, what do we do now? Well, we could see from where we were at the top of this curve of this overpass that over there, off of the road on an exit, there was a gas station. So we decided, let's see if the car will start, and let's see if it doesn't immediately overheat again. And we're like, we'll check the water in the radiator. We'll And there'll be a phone there because, there's phone booths. There were still phone booths around then. So we got in the car, we turned on the car, it all looked good. Now we're watching the overheat thing like a hawk because I wouldn't take my eye off of that because I'm like, what's it going to do? What's it going to do? Well, it wasn't hot now because we'd sat there for about half an hour. And so we got and basically just coasted down this overpass, and we were in the emergency lane. You couldn't move in the regular lanes, but because we were in the emergency lane, we stayed in the emergency lane, and the exit just curved around like this. So we just curved right on down that exit, and it was just right there, this gas station. So we pulled into the gas station. And we checked the radiator. It was full of water. Might have topped it off. I don't remember. But then my former husband went and called my father-in-law and said, we are at this such and such a road in Orlando off of the I-4 interstate. And we can't get back on I-4. And we told him the car had overheated. We don't know what's wrong. But we can't get back on I-4. It's dead stop. And we need another way to get to your house, which is still about an hour to an hour and a half away from where we were. They weren't in Orlando. We just had to go through Orlando to get there. And so my former father-in-law used to work in Orlando. And so he used to travel back and forth all the time, and he knew all the roads, and he knew the back way and stuff, because sometimes he'd go to work that way. And so he told us, you go down this road, turn here, and he was taking us through Sanford. I don't know if you know that area, but he was taking us through this back road. Well, by this time it's 10 o'clock at night. Again, we didn't have a phone on us because we didn't have phones. And so we were going down this back road. And I mean, this was a backcountry road. Now, if you live in the town I live in, there's a road here called 31. And it reminded me of 31. So it was through the country. It was a 2-lane road. And yet it was a road you could go like 60 miles an hour because it was like a highway, but it was through cow pastures. There was a house about every 3 miles or so. There were no street lights on this road, and there was hardly a car on this road. It took us about an hour to get down to the end of this road. I think we passed maybe 3 cars in that hour. So here we are in a car that had just overheated. Had never overheated before, 10 o'clock at night, no street lights, hardly any houses, no cell phones, because it was 1986 or so. And it's dark, and we're hardly even passing any cars. So we rolled, they told us, don't turn on your air conditioner, and luckily it wasn't a hot night. We rolled down the windows of the car, and we're driving down this road that neither one of us ever been on. It's pitch black, no street lights, no cars, barely see houses in the distance once in a while. And I'm thinking, what if this car breaks down? What if it overheats again? I didn't know enough about them to know that it was probably the idling that had caused it to overheat, but it had never overheated idling again, not before or the future. It had just done it that one time. So as we're driving 60 miles an hour down this road, I knew we had over an hour before we would be where we were going. Now, my in-laws knew we were coming, and if we didn't show up, they knew where we were. And I'm sure they would have come looking for us. But I was like so nervous because I'm like, if we break down here, there's nobody here. Even if there were good people, they're not here. There's nobody here, hardly anywhere. Even there's a few houses, but what if we broke down between them? It's probably 3 miles to walk to one of them because there were hardly any. And I'm like, what are we going to do if this breaks down? And I like had my eyeballs peeled on the temperature gauge. And we had like I said, the windows down and everything. And so I'm sitting there praying silently. But I'm like, God, why did you let this happen? Why did you let this happen? It's 10 o'clock at night. It's pitch black dark. We can hardly see where we're going. It's a 2-lane road. There's no cars. Of course, we weren't going to have an accident with a car. There's no cars. There's hardly any houses. There's no people here. There's no gas stations to make another phone call. If there is something wrong with the radiator, there's nothing. There's no hoses. There's no water. What are we going to do? God, why did you let this happen? Why did you let this happen? And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, God, why? Sometimes I have prayed many times, God, why did you let this happen? And he does not answer me. This time he kind of did. And as I'm saying to myself, God, why did you let this happen? Why did you let this happen? Why did you let this happen? Why did our car have to overheat? Why couldn't it have waited till we got there? Why did it do it on vacation? We were on vacation. This car's never overheated before. Why did you let this happen? When we don't even hardly know where we're at right now. No GPS, because we didn't have cell phones. No GPS in the car. You know, we had no computer help. And as I was asking, God, why'd you let this happen? He brought pictures back to my mind of a little while ago when we had been stranded on I-4, and I had stood there while we were waiting for the car to cool off in the emergency lane of this overpass, you know, at the top of this overpass. While we were standing there about half an hour waiting for the car to cool down so we could maybe try to get out of there. And I had been watching the traffic that was hardly moving. So, as I said before, it would move about a foot and they'd stop and wait and wait and wait and move another foot and they'd stop and wait and wait and wait and move another foot, and that's all it was doing. It was almost like a parking lot. But I remembered, as he was bringing these pictures to my mind, I remembered there had been a busload of people that had inched by. And it was not like a school bus, it was like a shuttle van. In the church I used to belong to, we had a shuttle van like this. It looked very much like that, only they had all the windows down. I didn't know you could open the windows in those, but I guess so. They had the windows down, half the people were hanging out, and woo, just yell, woo. And I'm like, those people sound drunk. As I was thinking, it kind of crossed my mind. They weren't driving, but they were in there like, this was like a Friday night or something, party time or something, okay. And then a few minutes after that bus had inched a little further ahead, there was a car behind them a little ways. That as they were inching forward, now remember, they're hardly moving. It's like, and then, hardly moving. This car, I watched him. He was in the middle lane. He slammed into the back of the car in front of him when he stopped. And I was like, oh. And the car in front of them, I guess he just said, oh, well, I'm not going to worry about it. He inched forward again, and the car behind him hit him again. He hit him again. And I'm like, is that guy drunk too? Is everybody on this road drunk today? And as all those pictures of that came back into my mind, as I was sitting there praying, God, why did you let my car overheat? He brought those pictures of these people that seemed like everybody was drunk to me. And he said, I had to get you off that road. And I remember sitting in that car like, oh my word. God, what did you just save me from? What did you save me from? What would have happened had we stayed on I-4? I have no idea. Nothing happened because we weren't there. But I had complete chills come over me when he said I was getting you off that road. And when we got to my in-laws, they happened to have friends who were mechanics, that their specialty was radiators, at a radiator shop. And they said, even though it's a holiday weekend, and it was like either Memorial Day or Labor Day. It was one of those long holiday weekends, so we were traveling. And they said, our friends, we'll ask them to look at your car tomorrow. They'll do it for us. They're our friends. They looked at my car. They took it all. They said, there's nothing wrong with your car. There's nothing wrong with the radiator. There was nothing wrong with your fluids. There is nothing wrong with your car. We do not know why it overheated. And it never overheated. I had that car for several more years. It never overheated again, ever. It had never overheated before that day, and it never overheated again after that day, ever. And they said there was nothing wrong with it. I really think God let our car overheat to get us off of that road that particular day. And I don't know the reason. When I get to heaven, he can tell me the reason. But when I think about, I was so scared and I was so nervous and I was so frustrated. God, why did you let that happen? I don't really know why he let it happen, but I do think he had a reason. And instead of saying, God, I know you had a reason this thing that seems like it's bad happened to me, I really think he was saving me from something worse. I really do, because I really felt like he spoke to me and said I had to get you off that road. And having watched what I was sure was a drunk driver double slam into somebody twice, going like a half a mile an hour, it's like he wasn't stopping his car. He wasn't an old guy. He was young. So he couldn't have been just like old. I think he was probably drunk too. And I'm like, okay, this is a holiday weekend. How many people here? I think he got us off that road. And even though I was scared on that dark road, I was safe. Because we got where we were going and we were perfectly safe. And my car was perfectly fine. And that really, even though I still have a tendency, when something bad happens, I still have a tendency to go, God, why did you let this happen? Just like when I dropped my phone yesterday into the washing machine. God, why did you let this happen? Why couldn't you have stopped me? You could have done something to stop me. I don't know why that happened. That maybe there isn't a reason for that one. But I had to get a new phone. Didn't want to get a new phone. Was that phone going to die soon anyway? I don't know. But it's like a lesson in when things happen, trust him that he's going to make it work out good. Even when it doesn't look good. You have to trust him. He's going to make it work good. I'm going to sing a couple songs for you today. One was written in 1991. It's called Step by Step. It's really just a little chorus. And another one was written in 1930. This is an old hymn. I've actually sung this one before on one of my lives called God Leads Us Along. But it is so touching, and it really fits this theme. I really like this song. It's one in the old hymnal we used to have in church. First, I'm going to sing you Step by Step. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your ways, and step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. In shady green pastures, so rich and so sweet, God leads his dear children along, where the water's cool flow bathes the weary one's feet. God leads his dear children along. Sometimes on the mount where the sun shines so bright, God leads his dear children along. Sometimes in the valley, the darkest of night, God leads his dear children along. Some through the water, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song. defeat all our foes. God leads his dear children along. Some through the water, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. Away from the mire, away from the clay, God leads his dear children along. Away up in glory, eternity's day, God leads his dear children along. Some through the water, some through the flood, some through the fire, but all through the blood. Some through great sorrow, but God gives a song in the night season and all the day long. And step by step you'll lead me, and I will follow you all of my days. Now I'm going to read to you from the 91st Psalm. I was going to just write down some of it to read. If you've ever read the 91st Psalm, there's no good stopping place in the 91st Psalm. So I'm just going to read it straight out of the Bible rather than just pull some of it out. I meant to get this ahead of time, but I didn't manage it. Here we go. It's your key to being led step by step by him every day. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Oh, I love that song. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him I will trust. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. How much does this fit us today? He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. That's your protection. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. I needed this Bible with me when I was stranded in that car that day. When my car overheated, I needed this, that I shall not be afraid of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked, because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you. And that's the key, is that you have had to have made him your dwelling place and your refuge. Nor shall any plague come near your dwelling, for he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. This is what God is saying. Therefore I'll deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With a long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. The steps of the righteous are ordered by God, even when they go down a path that we don't really understand or we don't think we like. You never know what would have been down the other path. that you were delivered from. I pray that you think every day this week that God is ordering my steps and everything He is directing them everywhere I go. May you have a good evening and God bless you. Until next week. Goodbye.